you could argue that, you know what, this is also very bullish because Bitcoin is flying off the exchanges at a historic rate right now. One of those historic moments in Bitcoin's history. Almost $2 billion of Bitcoin is leaving per month. And this is fantastic. Not only are people safeguarding their own crypto right now, but also there's just less and less and less of it on the exchanges. So when you have less volume, or not less volume, when you have less supply on exchanges and you have more people coming into this space, well, you do the math. Supply and demand causes the price to go up. So, and there's many metrics that also show you in relation to this. Well, here's the Bitcoin exchanges and net position and how it is just tanking right now, which is terrific. Also, supply for stablecoins is also high. And that's also terrific because that shows how much money is sitting on the sidelines waiting to enter, right? So that's also historically high, right? And also, this is the one that I chose to show on my thumbnail. This is also just looking at previous periods on the weekly scale when there's a ton of fear. You look at the volume. So the last time we saw this much fear was back in 2020 of March, okay? When we had that COVID sell-off that brought Bitcoin down to 3,800. Right now, actually, if you look at the volume, it's actually higher than even that point. But also, in reverse, the bears could look at this and say, well, the same thing happened back in May of 2020 when Bitcoin did fall down from 64,000 all the way down to 28,000, right? The volume also indicated that a big move was coming. But 2 out of the 3 times right now it comes after a big climb. Let's just put it that way, right? But obviously the biggest climb was in 2021. But again, this is one of those historic levels where we have not seen volume this high, and good things could be coming afterwards. So just want to show you guys that real quick. Here's another one, SOPR metric, which also takes into account like how much someone spent on a Bitcoin versus how much it was last sold by. And it's also very, very, very low, historically low. So a lot of these metrics, on-chain metrics, are showing this is a great time to be stocking up. Kind of like what Michael Saylor's planning, $500 million worth. He's planning on selling $500 million worth of shares, a MicroStrategy to buy, and kind of like what Cathie Wood is doing, and kind of like what a lot of other people are doing right now. The bulls and the bears. One of the biggest bears, right on the front page right here. Charlie Munger, the right-hand man to Warren Buffett. Well, of course, his opinion of Bitcoin has not changed, okay? He's been very open about how he feels, which is Bitcoin and the whole crypto ecosystem is a combination of fraud, delusion, and it's good for kidnappers. So obviously, Charlie Munger did not change his mind after the FTX collapse, okay? And you know what? Some would say, well, maybe he's right. Maybe crypto is just full of delusional people that think everything's going to go to the moon. And maybe it is just full of fraudsters like SBF and Do Kwon. I don't know about the kidnappers part, but maybe he's right. But let me remind you guys, those that are starting to think that way, yes, there has been a few times in Bitcoin's history where we go through these down periods, we go through these collapses. We do see bad actors get flushed out, okay? But that doesn't take away from Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the truth, okay? It's the reason why Bitcoin was created, because this kind of fraud and delusion and manipulation is not just for crypto. It's also on a grander scale being done by the governments and banks and institutions out there as well. This is why Bitcoin was created, actually to go against these things. But there's times where it's scary, and there's times where there are bad actors that do bad things, but they get flushed out ultimately, and Bitcoin continues on. The fraudsters, right, they get weeded out. Bitcoin's fundamentals has never been better, and we're in a historic time right now, and I'm going to get to that a little bit. So, unfortunately, the FTX collapse has strengthened the conviction of some bears, but also strengthened the conviction of bulls as well. Michael Saylor is saying this FTX crash is good. It's good because, again, it flushes out the bad. It also strengthens the case for Bitcoin, okay? And he still believes that Bitcoin, of course, will continue forward, continue on, although he does think that regulations will be coming, which in his opinion is good for Bitcoin anyways. He welcomes regulations so that, Bitcoin could be separated and fully deemed as a commodity, and everything else is security, right? And then we can move forward. That's what Michael Saylor's looking forward to. And the good thing is, he's not being swayed off by the likes of Charlie Munger and others, or Peter Schiff for that matter. Peter Schiff is going all out crazy right now, saying everything's going to go to zero for crypto. But like I said, right now you got bulls and bears both kind of like fighting it out, right, within the landscape. And the bulls continue forward. They're not going to change their mind. I'm not going to change my mind. I know what Bitcoin represents. I know where it's going to go, right? And like I said, we've been through some periods like this, but every single one makes us stronger. Same thing with Cathie Wood. Cathie Wood, her conviction, still there. She picks up another $2.8 million worth of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, although not Bitcoin, but it's still Bitcoin related and showing that, hey, she believes in DCA. She believes in picking up while people are fearful, while things are low, right? Bitcoin's or Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust, that premium so many people are tracking, it's at a historic low right now. It's like minus 40-something%. It's quite low. So you're actually getting like a 40% discount by buying Bitcoin Trust or Bitcoin, a share of a trust. And that may be relevant when they convert to an ETF, which Gary Gensler does not want to approve. But one day when they do approve it, or the SEC approves it, I should say, that may come into play. So anyways, Cathie Wood is still staying bullish on Bitcoin. And all right, so as for our favorite topic, FTX, FTX now says, before they claimed that they probably have 100,000 creditors, now it could be over 1 million. So unfortunately, the contagion, at least for the creditors, for the users, is a lot bigger than people thought. Over 1 million creditors, right, in this new bankruptcy filing. So this has just begun. Don't know where this is going to go. Is anyone going to come in and buy their assets if there are any, right? Kind of like what they did with Voyager, and now that has been reset, right? Is anyone else going to come in and buy their assets? I have no idea, right? Has SBF been prosecuted yet? No. They're still under supervision, so we don't know what's happening. But, of course, people are still trying to connect the dots on whether or not SBF was really behind it all, or he was just a puppet for some other entities, right? Was there some bigger agenda? People are trying to connect the dots. We don't know if those dots will ever be connected, but I did see this that was interesting. Terrible did take a snapshot of this. The WEF was partnered up with FTX, and they have since then removed that page. But people noticed that even the WEF was partnered up with FTX for whatever reason. And of course, a lot of people, oops, I have my camera off. A lot of people have been making the connections of whether or not this was something for the Democratic Party. Even Elon said, a question worth asking, right? So was this part of a bigger agenda? I don't know. I honestly don't know, but people are still connecting the dots, and we'll see where it goes. Also, Zhu Su of Three Arrows Capital is now taking the time to kind of, I don't know. I guess all the heat is off of him now. All the heat is on SBF and FTX, right? So now he's tweeting all this stuff like, wait, Alameda's Dan Fredberg, he was a part of this ultimate poker scandal, and people are noticing, he liked to play with God mode before. Did he do it at FTX, right? Did Sam Bankman-Fried do it with FTX? Who knows? I mean, but Zhu Su is coming out like he's playing the innocent card, right? And he's making a lot of tweets about basically whatever happened with Three Arrows Capital was all due to FTX. I didn't trust them and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But, he's trying to take the heat off of him. But ultimately, we got to remind ourselves that, yeah, even though FTX is a bad actor, Zhu Su was also a bad actor. He was just reckless with the $10 billion that he had in his fund. And you know what? Ultimately, he has to take responsibility. But he's tweeting out like, oh, yeah, it's like, it has nothing to do with us. It's all SBF and FTX, and, we were fine, and we just classed because of them. Maybe FTX did pop the bubble, but the bubble was already there. So I don't think this is a good look for Zhu Su. And I think the authorities are after him right now, too. Wherever he was from, I remember they were after him. So he's kind of like hiding out. He quickly sold his $50 million mansion for pennies on a dollar to escape. And I don't know where he is. And he's tweeting out like, oh, I'm innocent. That's not the case. Anyways, as for some U.S. market news, market's looking pretty good right now. I think this week could be good overall for equities because DXY started coming down, because inflation numbers showed that inflation was tapering off. So these are great things. So we'll see what this week brings. But one thing is for certain, Amazon is not looking good because they're cutting 10,000 jobs. I don't know if I covered this yesterday, but that's not good at all. I don't remember the last time ever in history that I remember hearing about Amazon cutting jobs. Amazon has been in a growth mode for I don't know how many years, 15 years, 20 years. And this is the first time I'm seeing them struggle. So that tells you something. That tells you either they have peaked or the current economic conditions is taking a toll, right? And this is what Powell wants.